Ady Dayman at breakfast.
BBC Radio Leicester.
Now, this is a news story that is, it's in all of the papers this morning. It's trending online on social medias as well. I wonder, how do you feel about prisoners getting released before they've completed their full sentence? Now, more than 1,500 prisoners, including some here in our region, will be set free later on today. The government insists that it's a temporary measure that's needed to free up spaces, and serious violent crimes, terrorists and perpetrators of domestic abuse will not be released as part of the scheme. Well, we've been asking you, what do you think of this idea?
Quite scared, especially as women. You feel more vulnerable, like leaving the house,
especially like walking at night and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, if they've done their sentence, then that's how the law works. But if it's if they've had some sort of rehabilitation and are properly settled into society, I see no issue. They're humans. If they've been well behaved in prison and show signs of being ready to be integrated into society, I think the less people we have in prison, the better. At the end of the day, if they're back to being regular humans, then that's fine with me.
It's still bad enough because they're just going to come out and reoffend. It's just all going to go wrong again, pretty much.
Well, that's what you think out in Leicester. Critics warn it could lead to people reoffending when they should have been in jail. Here in Leicestershire, there are 6 people due to be released. The BBC's Seema Katecha has been given rare access to HMP Pentonville.
Chaos in HMP Pentonville. We're the only broadcast journalists given access to one of Britain's most dangerous jails since the current crisis.
I've got my keys. HMP Pentonville.
Staff are overstretched and on the verge of breaking point.
You worry about, opening the door in the morning and making sure that they're alive.
Anything could happen. There's been deaths in prison.
All right, what have we got coming this afternoon then?
Each day, more busloads arrive, making this jail one of the most crowded in the country.
Can you stand in the middle of the black and yellow box for me?
They undergo body checks.
So this scanner will show whether they're hiding anything inside their body.
Yep.
Any drugs, any weapons.
Yep.
As of tonight, there are just 9 spare beds. Most of the inmates are on remand, so they're waiting for their trial or sentencing. Others are doing time for crimes such as murder, robbery and rape. Staff say overcrowding is leading to an increase in self-harm and violence because of inmates' frustration with being locked up for longer. Across the wing, Michael's inside for drug offences.
There are some people who simply don't care about prisoners. They're like, they broke the law, they should be locked up, shouldn't be a hotel. But you are supposed to be rehabilitated inside. Do you think prison is providing a rehabilitation?
No. It's a punishment. It's not a rehabilitation. It's hard to rehabilitate yourself in a place where you've got gang violence, postcode wars, drug violence, money wars. If you've got beef there, violence there, drugs there, people collapsing here, the staff, they're outstretched. They're trying to do this and this, but now you want help as well.
Well, Farrah McNutt is a former shoplifter who's from Loughborough and joins us this morning. Farrah, I'm ever so glad to speak to you this morning. Thanks for coming on the show. I guess the first question for this one I want to ask is, what do you make of it? What do you make of these over 1,500 prisoners being released?
Thank you for having me. It's great to speak to you again. Well, I'm aware that in some prisons there's long waiting lists for rehabilitation courses, and prisons prioritise the courses for the most serious offences or the ones that have longer sentences. And this is part of the problem. You're saying that once they're released, they're just going to reoffend because they're releasing them early, but they're already reoffending because there's no help and support there when they are being released even at the right time. So if the prisons are not working with the prisoners and identifying why they are offending, then they're not providing the necessary help and support structure that they're supposed to on the rehabilitation courses. And this is why most people end up reoffending whether they're released early or not. And I think that puts a lot towards it.
So is the problem then with the prisons? I know we heard there in that package with the BBC Senior Katecha, someone saying there's postcode wars going on, money wars going on, all of these problems going on inside of our prisons. Is that where you think that the problem lies then, Farrah?
Personally, I do. Sending them to prison isn't working. In my opinion, it is more a community rehabilitation programme that should be available to the communities where the court's making the orders for the offenders. It's also up to the offender. They've got to accept and want to change as well. So it's not just about the prison service itself. It's about the offender themselves. But if the help and support isn't there, then how are they ever going to change? I think personally that they should be making some sort of rehabilitation for low offenders, not putting them in the prisons with, people that have done serious crimes. Some of them are criminal masterminds that are in prison, and then they're mingling with people that's got 2 weeks for shoplifting. That's never a good combination.
But is the answer letting out 1,700 inmates? Is the answer letting them out early? I appreciate that there's not rehab in prison, but how's that going to help the general public? There's some victims that have been left in the dark about these people, these perpetrators who are going to be let out. Is that really the way to let them out into general everyday life?
No, that's not the way forward. It's further damaging, and it's already damaging. This is already a broken system towards this. So why isn't the money being invested in closed rehabilitation centres for the low-level offenders? A specific rehabilitation centre for them low-level offenders where they can get to the root cause, which we all know the main root cause is the drug problem in the UK. We should be now and more advanced here to be able to stop the selling of drugs in the UK. And for some reason, it's absolutely rife.
We know, Farrah, that isn't there. Like as you say there, that needs to happen, but those rehabilitation centres are not going to be there. What are your fears? Is reoffending a real possibility?
Absolutely. It's a number one possibility. As soon as someone gets out, they know the only thing they know to do is shoplift. The way they make money, they shoplift, or they commit other crimes, burglaries or anything like this. So the only way they know how to move forward and to make their money is the way they've been doing it anyway. And if, like I said, if there's no rehabilitation, where I feel for any sort of one is the retailers, the public, the people who are the victims here, because they shouldn't have to face any sort of violence, abuse, even verbal abuse or anything like this. So without the rehabilitation centres, or there's this it's an offender to rehab program in the West Midlands, Stuart Toogood. He does absolutely amazing. You should see his success story, because what happens is he gets to the root cause of the problem and helps the ones that really want to make the change. Not everyone is given this opportunity. So what they know is they're going back to square one and going back to what they know on how to obtain that money.
Thank you ever so much for coming on the show this morning and giving us your insight as well. Farrah McNutt there, former shoplifter, who's from Loughborough. In a statement, a government spokesperson has told us this. The new government inherited a criminal justice system in crisis and prisoners that are creating better criminals, not better citizens. We've taken immediate action to address the overcrowding crisis in our prisons, and we'll bring on 1,000 more probation officers as part of an effort to reduce reoffending after offenders are released. It's an interesting conversation, isn't it? Where do you sit on it? I'd love to hear from you. 0808 100 1049. You can text 81333, put in Leicester at the start of your message. Tweet or send me a message on X at BBC Leicester. And remember that WhatsApp's open as well. 08000 321 333. Leicester at the start of your message.